Hi, I'm Grace Wardana, and I'm co-founder of Kiko Labs. I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to start with a personal story, a brief one. My older daughter, like millions of kids here in this country, started kindergarten for the first time a couple months ago. And I, like many anxious parents, wondered, is she ready? Does she know enough? Is she going to be successful? And I started thinking, what determines school success? So research links it back to one foundational factor. It's actually not about how many words you know or whether you can do mental sums in your head. It's actually all about executive functions. So what are executive functions? Executive functions are the mental processes that allow us to focus attention, remember instructions, and juggle multiple tasks successfully. Think of them as the command center in your brain or an air traffic control system at a busy airport. Let's imagine this in a real-life classroom context. Imagine 3 kindergartners participating at circle time. Abby and James are listening to the teacher, focusing on the discussion at hand, raising their hands to answer the question. And Michael, on the other hand, is distracted, interrupts repeatedly, and has a hard time remembering what to do. It is clear from this example which of these children will be successful in this learning activity. And the latest research links this back to executive function. So when do these skills develop? Research shows that the skills develop between the ages of 3 to 5, but development is not guaranteed. Children who struggle with these skills in early elementary may become adolescents who fail to complete schoolwork and fall behind and unable to complete projects and just fail to gain academic skills. And in particular, children from low-income families tend to suffer from underdevelopment of these skills, which puts them behind even prior to entering school and may even cause behavioral challenges. And of course, these leads to the achievement gap because children who suffer from developmental and behavioral challenges are often kept out of classroom work and have trouble attending even when in class. So you can imagine that the potential impact for early intervention, especially during the critical preschool years, can be huge. If we could get in there and identify deficits and start building skills at the right time, think about what we can do. Children could start attending better in class, gain from increased learning, and start to build positive relationships with teachers and peers. And rather than laying a foundation as students who are frequently struggling to participate in class, they could start that positive cycle and start to gain confidence in the interactions with teachers and peers. So these skills, as well as other cognitive skills that form the foundational skills, are really a foundation to all academic learning, be it math or literacy or anything else that comes online. And so the good news is science shows that these skills can be trained or taught. In fact, initiatives such as Mind in the Making and Vroom are led by neuroscientists and focus on parental education of these skills and the potential for these skills to be taught. And we at Kiko Labs focus on a different approach where we've actually looked at existing research on cognitive training skills or skills that are cognitive skills training, and we turn them into fun games. You might have heard that earlier today as well. And so my co-founder and I come from a social gaming background, and we've partnered with the Scientific Advisory Board of neuroscientists, including Dr. Wes Clapp, who is a neuroscientist that focuses on neuroplasticity-driven brain training for peak performance and sits on the advisory board of Lumosity, as well as Dr. Jenny Thompson, who is a former Harvard professor that focuses on language acquisition and literacy. And we also collaborate very closely with a lab in UC Berkeley that focuses on cognition. And now this video will show you a little bit more about what we're trying to build.
Kiko Labs worked with neuroscientists from Harvard and UC Berkeley to develop Thinking Time, an adaptive training program for early learners aged 3 to 7 based on neuropsychological exercises. Thinking Time uses a suite of games targeting 6 skills that are foundational to cognitive learning: working memory, inhibition, cognitive flexibility, selective attention, reasoning, and spatial skills. These skills are critical, but their development is not guaranteed and can be impacted by socioeconomic status, demands on single parents or busy working families, as well as overburdened schools and teachers. These exercises were developed from a large body of scientific research. Each game is based on a neuropsychological task that has shown cognitive benefits in lab studies. We turn these tasks into engaging games that children love to play. Children try to help Kiko the fox get to the treasure. Along the way, they complete a series of fun exercises that require the use of the skills. Thinking Time is unique in that each game adapts to and progresses with each child's ability. The game ramps up in difficulty along multiple vectors when the child does well, ensuring that the child is always challenged but not frustrated. The app also keeps track of a child's performance, allowing parents and teachers to track their progress over time, measure improvement, and compare children's cognitive abilities to those of their peers.
Very useful because that could help me lead my instruction in my classroom. I would use that data to also classify my students and put them in learning groups.
We worked with 10 teachers and 55 children. We found that children were very engaged with the app, with the average play session lasting 12 minutes. We also found that children were making good progress. Over a 1-week period with 5 sessions, they progressed an average of 4 levels across all games. All teachers reported they would use the app in their classroom. In May of this year, we won a Phase 2 grant from the Department of Education to further develop Thinking Time for the next 2 years. Our research partner, WestEd, will field an efficacy study with 200 children to determine how Thinking Time strengthens executive functions, reasoning, and influences early math and literacy acquisition. We believe that children from low-income families in particular can benefit from this app. To this end, we're partnering with Head Start to distribute our software and hardware for free to Head Start centers in California and provide support for teacher training. A battery-powered award would help us kick off this effort and fund the first 100 centers, after which we plan to refine and scale the program.
I think every pre-K and preschool classroom should have this app.
My name is Pam Shaw. I am the Executive Director of Early Childhood Services for the YMCA of the Central Bay Area, which you say is Central Bay Area. What is that? We're actually housed in Berkeley, and I direct the Head Start program there. I'm also the current president of the California Head Start Association, which represents over 100,000 Head Start children across the state of California alone. We serve low-income children, most of whom meet the federal poverty limits. So for a family of 4, that's like $24,000 a year in income. We're talking about very, very low-income families. Our kids mostly wind up in the Berkeley public schools. Most people don't think of Berkeley as having like serious issues with education. It's got the largest achievement gap in the state of California. Not because our kids are doing so much worse than their typical peers in other places, but because the higher functioning kids are way off the charts there. So we're in a technology gap for our kids and families. We piloted the Kiko Labs Thinking Time over the last few months, or the early part of this year, and we're now expanding it to do in all of our preschool classes. What we found was 10 to 15 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, made an amazing difference in the kids' skills. And being able to track it, the teachers were shocked at the improvements that they saw. And we're able to compare that to their assessments that they're doing on them. The state requires us to do assessments on all of our kids, and we track those as well. But we could parallel the assessments that they're doing in the classroom with the assessments that they're doing online, and it's kind of amazing. Kiko provided the hardware and the app for our kids and families. There's no way we could have afforded that otherwise. We're on federal and state funding. 90% of our money goes to salary and benefits, and our staff are not that well paid. So one of the most interesting things about it is when we started the pilot and started training the teachers had to play the games first to get used to it. They struggled with it. So when Grace talks about not having executive functioning skills in adults, these are the same people that are teaching some of our youngest kids and some of our most at-risk kids. And when they were able to play the games and then kind of work with the kids to do that, the difference we saw was fairly dramatic. The other thing is kids with challenging behavior responded to that. They love technology. And while we don't like to bribe our kids, it was used somewhat as a reward. So we are thrilled to be part of this, and we hope that we'll be able to get this out to all of the Head Start centers in a larger Bay Area. So thank you.
Pam.
Not done yet.
Sorry, I just have a quick wrap up. So as you can imagine, having Pam on board on this initiative will really allow us to reach, and our goal is to reach actually 5,000 children from low-income families via a partnership with the Battery. So I think it will really make an impact. I mean, ultimately, our goal is is really to give children the foundation to be lifelong, self-directed, and engaged learners. And I think the sooner we make these foundational skills a priority, the better equipped all our children will be to really get the most out of their school experience. Thank you. Take any questions.
Hi. Have you thought about reaching out to California First Five for funding? Can you elaborate on that?
That's a really good question. I actually, we have not, but it was on the list that Pam just suggested that.
Part of their mandate, they are supposed to fund a program like yours.
Oh, is that right?
Up to age 6.9.
That's great. That's fantastic.
It's not so cut and dry, though. I mean, every First Five has a local commission, and every local commission is subject to the priorities established by those local commissions. They fund very few projects of this type. We work very closely with First Five in Alameda County and in Contra Costa counties, and they're funding a lot of school readiness initiatives, but not anything like this. And looking at the state level First Five, they have a whole different priority that's focused on improving the quality in preschool and quality rating systems. So that's where most of their funding is going these days.
Hi. You might have said this, but I don't remember hearing it. Do you provide the tablet as well, or just the app?
Yeah, with this partnership, we will be distributing software and hardware for free to all the Head Start centers.
Okay,
and
so
we'll
they
also
can
be providing teacher training just to get them on board.
Sure. So they can use the tablet in other ways to sort of
Yes.
enrich
yes.
their classroom. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. They're free to download other content onto the app once they have it.